Ebusia enene da etwatoa the leadership in parliament they concluded the debate around the policy document Abesha 2024 media budget ira kesa to force in the babetu dwa parliament no and watching mpanyfo bebubo hunene ana omo ewie ne kakra na the minority caucus yewura Hon.Afenyo Markins idiomanim edinse bebre atodwa in the floor of parliament saying say arehuye pa say NDC ebefa animunyam abutire anasa mobeje abasobode afa how economy no esifa eko ene said city no enso esifa ejina de national de ntina okase ochemu a NDC etimi atwere letter akwa IMF in report say omojitum say osha the IMF program and economic recovery policies are bind that they try to do go say the beya economy ni besa so regional no suntino a whole resource ana aba bishia NDC fu enei ye hu si die gina na so enei investors condo so mo beba ni aba be di dwuma we know at the end of the day NDC fu kan na omaji afrim na omaka no said ye na na adodan kwa akofado ne na aban anya hwe no and they realize and Afenyo Markins say TMU actually said this 6 months ya de moje sabas body ya na nukrebi anime too premature na mo ankasa no ai okwan bi so NDC amanyoko no the dispatch box no aban enwumadie ene de enam support ma ensencheni we ni nesisi no ma indicate wom chese no munim say the minority caucus meche ranking committee no ebe final nenso so omu inbox in a report ekokoma IMF say indeed nanado dan kwa akofado nwumo ni go akwam no ana ama yehu de yehu na jebre wa bla you realize na Afenyo Markins in the floor of parliament accepted this record straight.
First half of 2025 is largely a continuation of the trend that NPP set in motion under the IMF program and our economic recovery policies. With stable fuel prices globally and the cedi regaining some strength, prices of imported goods began to ease. The minister himself admits that the recent inflation drop, quote, is not by chance or sheer luck, unquote. Indeed, this was by design of policies that began under the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government. Mr. Speaker, it was NPP that negotiated the IMF support package, which restored investor confidence and unlocked funding. It was NPP that started the Gold for Oil program to moderate fuel prices, and it was NPP's fiscal adjustment that reined in excess liquidity. But to claim, show credit, or trumpet it as a vindication of 6-month work is premature. Ghana's inflation was already coming down, and the global condition provided a tailwind. There has been no bold new anti-inflation strategy from the current government beyond sticking with the IMF guided path set earlier. Let us also recall that Ghana's longer inflation history for this House. Mr. Speaker, under the previous NDC government, that is 2012 to 2016, inflation was often run in mid-teens and even surpassed 17%. At one point, Ghana faced hyperinflationary pressures. Indeed, going back further, we had over 40% inflation in 2000 and had to redominate the cedi in 2007. Due to cumulative high inflation eroding the currency's value. In the year 2000, the government in power was your party. It was NDC, and you took us to a 40% inflation. Now, those storms are passing. Inflation is naturally receding. The NDC cannot credibly claim to have fixed the inflation in 6 months, when the truth is that in Ghana was already healing. We caution that the 13% inflation is still higher than our pre-crisis norm. There is more work ahead to bring it fully into single-digit target band. That work requires consistency, prudence, not celebratory laps after just half a year. I urge the finance minister, release monies to your ministers. Your ministers are idle. Your ministers are not working. Release their allocations to them. pay the contractors. Mr. Speaker, the media review makes much of the Ghanaian cedi performance, with the minister jubilantly declaring cedi no apeke. He even claimed the recent cedi appreciation has never happened in the history of the country. Mr. Speaker, let's analyze this carefully. It is true that in the first part of 2025, the cedi strengthened against major currencies, an undoubtedly positive development, and we admit. But what are the underlying causes, and is this sustainable, I ask? First, context of 2022 must be highlighted. Yes, the cedi was one of the world's worst performing currencies that year, depreciating steeply, at one point losing over half of its value. It's a matter of public record. But again, this is not occur in isolation. I dare argue. In 2022, virtually all emerging economies fell short sharply against a surging US dollar. Emerging economies and their currencies fell short of the US dollar. Several Federal Reserve aggressive rate hikes made the dollar strong in decades. As I've already mentioned, the Ukraine conflict drove oil and commodity import costs up, sucking foreign exchange out of countries like ours. Ghana also faced a momentary loss of investor confidence before the IMF deal, which hurt forex inflows. In short, the 2022 was a storm for the cedi, and I concede. But I dare argue that despite all of this, the NPP government stabilized the cedi in 2023. After reaching its weakest point in late 2022, the cedi slide was arrested and partially reversed. The key was restoring confidence, securing the IMF agreement in 2023, commencing the debt restructuring, which signaled to markets that Ghana was addressing its debt and innovative policies like the gold for oil, where we battered gold for oil for fuel to reduce forex demand. By end 2024, the cedi depreciation has slowed dramatically. It was down only by 19% year on year against the dollar, a marked improvement from the free for all earlier. So when the new government took over the reins of affairs in January 2025, they inherited a stabilizing currency, not a perpetually dwindling one. Mr. Speaker, the cedi depreciation, now the cedi's appreciation in 2025. Indeed, from January through to June, the cedi strengthened significantly, with the minister tout as unprecedented. We do welcome a stronger cedi. We on this side welcome a stronger cedi. It eases the burden on import costs and brings some price relief to Ghanaians. However, claiming this as a proof of some unique NDC prowess is misleading. Several factors have contributed to the cedi's rise, and they are not purely the result of fresh political genius. A major factor is renewed investor confidence and inflows on the back of the IMF program and improved fiscal outlook, a trajectory set in motion last year. Another factor is Ghana's record high gold exports and remittances in late 2024. Mr. Speaker, let me remind the NDC, whereas they have denied the successes of NPP in laying the foundation, they have quietly indicated that in their report to the IMF. That is why recently the IMF exposed you, that you have acknowledged that the stability you find today is as a result of the foundation laid by the Akufo-Addo government. Why did you refuse to acknowledge it in the dispatch box, but wrote a letter to the IMF to admit this? Mr. Speaker, these inflows from the IMF shored up our reserves. By end 2024, Ghana's gross international reserves stood at $8.9 billion, a healthy buffer well ahead of IMF targets. The minister in mid-year review proudly announces that reserves have further risen to $11.212 billion by June 2025. What he failed to clarify was that the 8.9 billion of that was inherited from the previous administration's efforts. The new addition in the first half of 2025 was just about 2.2 billion. Significant, yes, but not miraculous, given favorable trade winds and carryover programs. Crucially, Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana's heavy intervention in the forex market has played an unsustainable role in propping up the city, and this the IMF has pointed out. Yet you are quiet. Despite earlier denial, it took the IMF to reveal that the first quarter of 2025 alone, the BOG injected 1.4 billion of reserves into the market to support the city. Have you told Ghanaians this? Was this included in your media report? This kind of artificial support, effectively using scarce reserves to boost the city, can only be a short-term strategy. Indeed, the IMF has cautioned our government about the sustainability of this approach, urging that we reduce BOG's footprint and allow greater exchange rate flexibility going forward. On the ground, many importers and businesses will tell you a sobering truth. While the official interbank rate has shown a strong cedi, dollars have become scarce in the open market. A wide arbitrage has emerged. The cedi appears stronger on paper, but it is difficult for businesses to actually obtain forex at those rates. As one of my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, aptly put it, cedi no apeke, but Abochi has a dollar. The point is that the real economic strength comes from a currency's purchasing power, not just the exchange rate on a given day. This government must hear this. Mr. Speaker, in contrast, consider the currency stability under the NPP's first term. That's 2017 to 2019. During the period, the cedi's annual depreciation averaged around 8 to 10%. A remarkably stable performance compared to the 18 to 30% annual slide seen in the previous NDC era of 2012 to 2016. There were even stretches where the cedi was one of Africa's more stable currencies under Akufo-Addo's administration. We achieved this through disciplined fiscal management and innovative schemes like forward forex auctions and improved exports. It was only when external crisis hit that the cedi wobbled, and when they did, NPP was innovative. Mr. Speaker, now let me turn to their so-called 24-hour economy. They claim that they have introduced something they call 24-hour economy. They've touted it as a transformational plan to run Ghana's economy around the clock, spanning 8 pillars from Grow 24 to Connect 24. On paper, it promises 1.7 million jobs in 4 years and a productivity reboot. However, Mr. Speaker, this rhetoric of a nation that Ghana never sleeps collides with Ghana's own on-ground realities. Few African cities truly operate 24/7, and Accra is nowhere near a New York or Dubai. What we expect is for the government to make investment in the private sector, but there are no such signs. All they know is to focus in promoting galamsey. Tripling daily operating hours in key sectors sounds impressive, but visibility is questionable. Ghana's economy cannot be willed into 24-hour cycle by slogan. It requires concrete capacity that currently seems lacking. There is a lack that this grand vision remains largely rhetorical, with little change on the factory floor or the farm gate beyond normal business hours. A glaring weakness of this 24-hour economy program is its heavy reliance on financing that may never fully materialize. The initiative cost is pegged at around $4 billion. Yet government is only committing $300 to $400 million as seed capital. The rest is expected from the private sector, a lofty assumption in Ghana's current climate. But I dare ask, what are the incentives for the private sector? A situation where instead of creating jobs, you are sacking our youth from having their jobs. Then you say you are creating jobs. What foundation are you mounting this vision on? Mr. Speaker, this country must not be subjected to PR gimmicks and political rhetorics. We want action, and the NDC must know that the clock is ticking. We do not have time. Your 4 years, almost 7 months gone. Time is not on your side. Do something before the people boot you out.